Hey everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I want to show how to make a checkpoint within your game and also like a killing floor so that when you fall down off the platform in certain areas that you respawn at your latest checkpoint. And I'm going to do this using only Playmaker, so no scripts or any programming is needed. So let's get right into it. To start off, I've set up this scene, which some people might be familiar with if you followed any of my other tutorials. Um, and what I'm going to make is first I'm going to create an empty and make sure that the transform is 0. In my last tutorial, I wasn't really consequent with this, but always make sure that your transform's position is always 0. And this will be a checkpoint. Let's see where it is. Here's the checkpoint, and currently there's nothing in. So what I want to have in a checkpoint is, of course, a collider. And currently I've opened the circle collider, which is actually quite fine. There we go. Make sure the circle collider is a trigger. And let's make sure it's a little bit above the ground so it doesn't interfere with any box collider of this platform, which I think we're doing here. If we check here, yes, it's above ground. It's fine. Of course, the player should also not be able to jump over it. So that's the first checkpoint. This is already, and the checkpoint doesn't have any item right now, which is fine. Let's first set up, let's say, the finite state machine. Right. So the first thing we always going to need is a trigger. Trigger to the event in which we want, as always, add transition finished. If we collide with the player, we want something to happen, and then we go to the next state. And the next state will set the checkpoint location. Set checkpoint location into a global variant. Not a variant, a variable. And we're going to do this by get position. The get position, there's also get vector. For this one, we want to get the position. And what we want to do is just get the position of the owner, and we want to put this in a global variable. And currently we don't have one, so we're going to go to variables, press on the right top here, go to your global variables, and add a new variable, which is checkpoint, and variable type will be a vector tree, because a vector tree is a position like in your transform, the X, Y, Z. Of course, in the 2D game, you don't really need the Z axis, but we're going to use a vector tree. Anyhow, I'm going to add this. And if I go to the state now, I want to get a position and put it in the vector tree checkpoint. And as you can see, currently it's 0. What I can do, of course, once I reach the checkpoint, I could also play a sound. Play sound so that actually people know that they reach a checkpoint. I'm just gonna shift this down here. And for the sounds, I think I have some sound set up. And afterwards, I want to add a weight. The reason for that is quite simple, is that I don't want the sound to, let's say, keep on playing all the time. And I only want to update it once. What this checkpoint will do is set the vector location of this checkpoint in a one global variant, which is called checkpoint. Yeah, I'm going to show you in a bit what this means. We also need another object. Again, let's make sure that the transform is all 0. And this is our kill floor. And the kill floor, let's shift it down here. Let's make a box collider 2D and make it a trigger. And let's zoom it, drag it below your level, or wherever you want to have where the player can, let's say, die. You can also put this on a spike or on any trap kind of thing, on enemy weapons, however you like it. And of course, let's make sure it's a trigger. And here we're also going to add a FSM. And here we also start with a trigger because we want it to do something. once the character falls into it, the player, and let's add a finish transition, finish, and to make it look cool, I want the camera to fade out. So I'm just going to set the position of the character back to the checkpoint. But before that happens, I would like to let the camera fade out, which is a nice effect. And it's very easy with Playmaker. So I'm going to add camera fade out. Let's just make it black. And let's make it like something like 0.5 seconds. And then finish. And I'm going to add one more state here. And what I'm going to do is here is going to fade in, also 0.5. So the screen will like black out. And I'm going to set the position. And this time I'm going to set the position not of the owner, but on the player character. And this, in your case, this might be something else. Here it's Emily. And I'm going to put the factor of checkpoint. And afterwards, I'm going to finish, and it will just be idling, waiting again for you to hit it next time. So let's say this one is fade camera, and here is respawn. And of course, there's also a fade there. So let's see how this now works. So once we go into the game, and I'm just gonna leave my mouse here on the checkpoint to see what happens here. So the checkpoint should be here somewhere. I'm gonna walk into it, and it played the sound, which is nice. And as you can see, the vector here is now being saved. So this vector is minus 3.5, minus 1.6, which is the location of this checkpoint. Well, almost the location of this checkpoint. And once I fall now down in my kill floor, and let's perhaps make this full screen, it will dark out, and I'm back at the checkpoint. And of course it will play the sound because I hit the checkpoint again. Right, and the beauty of this is if I'm going to add now more checkpoints, let's just duplicate this one. And of course I would make here a folder with different checkpoints. And I'm just going to drag this checkpoint over here. Yeah. And because I'm using the same global variable to define the checkpoint, so here was checkpoint 1, which will bring me back there. But now if I now go over here, gonna reach a different part of my level, gonna select here another checkpoint, you heard it, and if I fall now down here, it will respawn me at the last checkpoint. Well, pretty cool, right? Of course, what I recommend is to put something on your checkpoint, and what we could do is just add a sprite render here and add a picture. Perhaps there is something here. There is something. Let's make sure to put it in the player. Just gonna put it on -3, that it doesn't interfere in my player. So now you actually have something on the checkpoint. Now I have to be careful that the box collider, it's still location-wise, it's fine. There, let's leave it there. And what also is always nice to do is perhaps add a light effect here. I can just make a 2D freeform light. You can change it here. Be nice. Just to make it stand out. You can also add a particle effect or something, whichever you like. It's light, yeah. Make it a little bit brighter. Make it fall off so that people can recognize. You can also animate your lightning quite easily and make it pulsate or something. If I go here, checkpoint, you can just add here a record button, and then you just go say the intensity is starting with 1, 1.2, and then go to 1.4, It's just gonna get brighter and brighter. 1.6, and then I'm just gonna go back to 1.4, and then 1.2. If I press play, it's gonna look like this. Let's drag it out a little bit so it has a more slower pulsating effect. It's still a little bit fast for my feeling. I mean, it's a light, right? So something like this. Right, and if I go back now in the game, we have ourselves a little bit more nicer spawn point. Now, of course, with this background, there's already light and now there's double light, so perhaps a particle effect is better here. But in general, your checkpoint and respawn works well. Good. Thank you all for watching. Hope you can use it in your game.